You get into bed, exhausted, and tell yourself you're just going to check your phone for 5 minutes. But those 5 minutes vanish, and you lose hours to a barrage of negative news and escalating anxiety. This behavior is known as doomscrolling, the active, anxious, and compulsive consumption of distressing information online. It is a distinct psychological phenomenon from zombie scrolling. While zombie scrolling involves mindlessly swiping out of boredom, doom scrolling is fueled by high emotional distress. This hyperfixation on negative content triggers measurable cognitive decline. It has become so pervasive that Oxford University Press named the direct result of this consumption as their 2024 word of the year, brain rot. This behavioral addiction effectively holds the user hostage, turning the act of staying informed into a digital hostage situation. To understand why we fall into this trap, we have to look at an evolutionary survival mechanism called negativity bias. The human brain is hardwired to prioritize threats over positive information because detecting danger keeps you alive. Social media algorithms actively exploit this evolutionary bug. They detect what captures human attention the longest, automatically prioritizing and pushing anger, grievance, and polarizing content to the top of your feed. Once the threats are loaded, the platforms keep you swiping using a psychological mechanism known as intermittent reinforcement, the delivery of unpredictable rewards that forces you to keep searching for critical survival data. The unpredictable delivery of shocking news in a social feed works exactly like a casino game. You never know what the next swipe will reveal, so you keep pulling the digital lever. This digital platform design is directly modeled after the behavioral conditioning experiments of 20th century psychologist B.F. Skinner. Skinner discovered that subjects, in his case a rat in a box, would learn to press a lever compulsively if they received a food pellet at completely random, unpredictable intervals. Today, that box is in your pocket. The random rewards are shocking headlines, and you are the subject, driven to scroll by a manufactured fear of missing out. This creates a biological trap in your brain that operates in two phases. Phase 1 is the dopamine hit. Finding novel information triggers a rewarding chemical release in your nucleus accumbens, a region deep in the brain responsible for processing pleasure and motivation. But as the algorithm serves you increasingly darker, threatening content to hold your attention, that initial chemical pleasure disappears. The brain reroutes the signal. This triggers phase 2, the amygdala hijack. The amygdala is the brain's emotional threat detection center. It perceives the negative feed as an immediate physical threat, bypassing your logical assessment completely. The amygdala then activates your HPA axis, a network of glands that manages your body's stress response, flooding your central nervous system with the stress hormone cortisol. This massive surge of stress hormones leads to phase 3, a complete logic override. The prefrontal cortex, the front section of your brain responsible for reasoning, shuts down under the chemical pressure. Because the prefrontal cortex controls your impulses, it becomes biologically impossible to simply choose to put the phone down once it powers off. The initial search for a chemical reward quickly devolves into a desperate physiological struggle to manage a chemically induced panic attack. Forcing your nervous system into this hijacked state night after night creates severe, long-term psychological damage. The immediate consequences cascade quickly. You experience intense cognitive overload, emotional desensitization to actual tragedies, and severe sleep disruption. This flowchart illustrates how immediate symptoms degrade into chronic disorders. Initial doom scrolling causes anxiety, rapidly progressing into sleep disruption. Further down, we see the permanent consequences. Isolation and impaired cognitive function cement addictive behavior, resulting in total mental health decline. Psychologists call this endpoint digital learned helplessness. Constant exposure to uncontrollable global crises convinces the brain that all personal effort is futile. Doomscrolling actively erodes your baseline emotional resilience. It strips away your biological capacity to handle real-world stress and replaces your ability to cope with a permanent sense of panic. Hours lost to an app are the predictable results of an environment engineered to override human biology. Relying on sheer willpower is entirely useless when you are fighting against a supercomputer actively designed to hack your evolutionary biology. To break a biological loop, you must introduce physical friction. Setting strict app timers or leaving your device in another room slows the scrolling process down. that physical distance provides the crucial seconds your prefrontal cortex needs to reboot, re-engage, and realize that you are actually safe.